Joining me now is Democratic Congresswoman Suzan DelBene of Washington State. She's also the chair of the new Democrat coalition and was in one of the meetings with the president on Tuesday. Congresswoman, it's good to have you with us. I know that you have three top priorities. One of those is the expanded child tax credit. So this is now expected to be capped at a year. Will be means tested. There could be significant income requirements. You have pointed out, you've expressed concern that this could shut out millions of families, especially those where the parents are full-time students. You were in the room with President Biden on Tuesday. Is there any wiggle room there?
Well, I talked to the president about how important it is that we are focused on the needs of families and workers as we build back better. And the president is a big believer in the child tax credit. We know it's already lifted 3 million children out of poverty, helped over 3 million families put food on the table. So I believe we should expand this permanently because kids don't grow up in a year. But I told the president we need to make sure this program's in place for as long as possible. I think through 2025. We need to make sure that it continues to be refundable so that people who don't make enough money to have their taxes offset still get the full value of the credit. So those conversations continue. I'm going to continue to push. We have broad support throughout the caucus and in the Senate for the child tax credit.
Do you think there is enough broad support, though, to your point, to extend this, whether it's to 2025, but certainly to more than a year? Did you get a positive sense there?
He understands how important this is, and we are going to continue to push to 2025, but we know that we've got to get 50 votes in the Senate and 218 votes in the House. In the end, we have to pass strong legislation to help our communities, and that's the goal, is to work with everyone to get that across the finish line. We don't help anyone if we don't get policy across the finish line.
One of your goals, one of your top three, is to go big on climate. The details are a bit murky. We have some of the details on the child tax credit. When it comes to climate, it's a little bit fuzzier, as Melanie Zanona just pointed out. Joe Manchin has made it very clear where he stands on clean energy. This is really important to you, though. Where do we stand right now in terms of specifics when it comes to climate? Are we just looking at tax incentives? And if so, is that enough for you?
Well, this has got to be a huge priority for all of us. We've seen the impact of wildfires, floods, droughts, a heat dome up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit out in the Pacific Northwest where I am from. So everyone is feeling the impact of climate, not only across our country, but around the world. We have strong legislation that came out of the Ways and Means Committee that I sit on, the Green Act, strong financial incentives to move towards clean, renewable energy. We continue to look at every form of decarbonization that we can use. So all of this is got to be part of strong policy. And the president is working hard, again, to get those 50 votes. So we need to meet our climate goals. That's a key priority. We're trying to be creative in how we get there, so we get those 50 votes and the 218 in the House.
So I've been hearing this language of the trying to be creative. Can you give us a specific, though, something that you are looking at that could make it into that final bill that you think would appease the broadest swath of your caucus?
Well, I think we have different opportunities on decarbonization. We have different work, again, in terms of financial incentives to help move towards clean, renewable energy. So those are the ideas. There's many pieces of legislation that members of Congress have introduced, that New Dems have introduced to address climate from a variety of different angles. So we're looking at all of those and how we can pull those together as part of the package.
As I'm sure you know, there's been a lot of talk about the messaging of this bill from the beginning, and that it was rough. It was lacking. And I found this take interesting yesterday on CNN from New York Times opinion columnist Tom Friedman. Take a listen.
This is so exciting what they're trying to sell, and they've so poorly sold it. And that is what really Democrats should be asking themselves. How the hell could we be losing when we have a big plan and all they have is a big lie?
There was a noticeable shift, I think, yesterday after these meetings with the president in tone from Democrats. It was far more optimistic. We weren't hearing about infighting in public. There was more talk of compromise. But what has been missing for a lot of folks are the specifics in this bill. Was that a focus in your meeting with the president, that there would be more specifics that are offered?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the very, very positive signs of our meeting was that we were talking specifics. And I think that's always been critical to getting to the place where we land the plane on this policy.
Do you think that was missing initially?
Well, I actually think folks were very focused on a number, and I think the number was a distraction. A number doesn't help people. What helps people is policy. And that's why, as New Dems, we put out specific policy priorities on the child tax credit, on climate, on healthcare and the ACA premiums and expansion of Medicaid, because that's what resonates with people, not a number. And so I think it's very, very important that everyone follow that lead and make sure we talk about the transformative policy that we've been working on, because it really is about what we can do that has an immediate impact for families, for workers, for our communities.
Congresswoman Suzan DelBene, appreciate your time this morning.